You know, scientists say it takes just 7 seconds after we meet someone that we start making judgments about them. I don't know if anyone has specifically done one of those studies for NBA fans, but from what I saw last night, that number might be even lower. Just a few bounces of the ball, and suddenly the internet had decided. The Nets, apparently the best team ever assembled. The Warriors are supposedly in horrible, unrecoverable from trouble. The Clippers are on a mission this season, and the Lakers apparently just have a championship hangover. Of course, none of these first impressions will likely turn out to be entirely true. The Clippers, as you may remember, also beat the Lakers pretty soundly in the opening game of last season, and well, we know how that all eventually panned out. But there are still some things we can take away from last night, starting with the Nets, who did indeed look like they will be a tone setter at the top of the Eastern Conference. Kevin Durant had 10 points in less than 5 minutes last night, including that beauty. Whew, yeah. He would finish with 22, while Kyrie Irving looked as wizard-like as ever, moves like this. My Lord. The Nets also showed off their depth. 6 guys scored at least 8 points, including 20 for Karis LeVert. And thanks to the NBA's new expanded roster rules, the team even set a record by having all 15 of their active players see the floor. Afterward, the Nets celebrated with Kyrie presenting rookie coach Steve Nash the game ball.
This is the start of something new right here, man. And I'm grateful to have you as the head of our snake for our coach. And I'll go to war with you any day, Steve.
Aw, very nice. Also post-game, we got a KD interview with TNT's Inside the NBA crew. That did not go as well, especially when Charles Barkley took a turn. Take a look.
You know, Kevin, there was talk about you coming back for the playoffs last year. So you really just been working on your game, trying to get back your timing and conditioning, really, to be honest, correct?
Yeah. Come on, man. What you do to me?
I don't do anything.
You know you been saying stuff, but we don't know you said it. I've never seen anybody give you just a one-word answer, man. What's up?
Now, to be fair, Chuck only asked Kevin a yes or no question, and KD answered it. But the fact that he didn't elaborate further became, well, a topic of conversation in the studio for the rest of the night.
That's my question, Chuck. Anything, just ask me.
What time is it, Chuck? I mean, hey, Shaq, you think y'all gonna win?
Hey, Shaq, how was the shopping spree for the kids?
Pretty good.
If you're not there.
Hey, Shaq, ask me a question.
Charles, how many gifts did you buy for Kitty this year?
None.
End of the highlights
Kitty,
we go.
Hey, Kitty.
Yes.
Kitty, how your kids doing?
Good. Okay.
Yeah, even Draymond Green chimed in. That is a lot of laughing, crying faces there. Now, Green did not chime in on all the talk about how the Warriors had just been schooled, although Steve Kerr did, joking it was some sort of basketball karma for all the times the KD Warriors had done that to other teams in recent years. Still, I would caution anyone from making one of those 7-second rushes to judgment on Golden State. No, the Warriors are clearly not an elite team right now. Without Klay, we knew that already. They are also likely not as bad as what we saw last night, which was rookie James Wiseman's first game, and a game Draymond didn't even play. The same caution about first impressions also applies to the Clippers and Lakers, who kicked off the night with the most unusual ring ceremony in NBA history and finished it with some disjointed play and LeBron James sitting out the game's final 8 minutes with a rolled ankle. Now, I was in the mostly empty Staples Center last night, and I can tell you the whole vibe was just, well, as weird and disorienting as everything else has been this year, about how immunity from this disease works, that you can't just assume because you've had it, you can run around without a mask or publicly gather, correct?
That's exactly right, Rachel. The rules don't change for you if you have previously tested positive and now just have the antibodies, or you've yet to have the coronavirus. The rules in place are the same, and so they wouldn't be different for James Harden or any other player or individual in the league who's going to be tested and be around his peers.
Really, just every day I wake up and something new is happening in Houston. I know it's 10 times for you guys. Thank you so much for your insight, Woj.
Thanks, Rach.
We will be here all show. So if anything else more breaks, you know where to find us.
Okay, sounds good.
I want to welcome back in Vince Carter, Kendrick Perkins, Guys, I want to start with you, Vince. What is your reaction to hearing the latest news on James Harden?
Well, when I first heard about it, I was like, again? I was like, or is this the same, the
Right.
original one? So, I mean, I know he doesn't want to be there, and, you know, he's doing everything he can to get moved. But Perk has said this for a long time now, is Houston Rockets have the keys, and they could do with him what they want. And another thing that he said, that they don't have to move him to the team that he wants to go to. So with all of the back and forth and not showing up and going here and going there, they can send you wherever they want to send you and just deal with the consequences. Or, you know, if he doesn't show up to practices, the games, and they play, they're going to continue playing with or without him. So he has to realize, I think if he wants to get moved, he just needs to just do what he needs to do. And I don't want to use the word model citizen, but just come to work, be the James Harden we all know, and increase his value so they'll move and cooperate with him. But right now, I don't see Houston cooperating with him, particularly if they don't get anything of value that it comes close to what he brings to the table.
Yeah, and Vince, Rachel, look, Vince is letting them off the hook pretty easy. This is bad. This is not good for several reasons. And one of those reasons is that, one, if you're trying to get moved, like Vince said, then you have to be a professional, because not only do the Rockets have the keys and they don't have to trade you, but it's a turnoff to other organizations, because I've been hearing from multiple GMs that they're scared of trading for James Harden, and it has nothing to do with his own court. What he does on the court is what he does off the court, and they're scared that if they trade him, that he's going to be a bad example in the locker room because of things like this. And here's another thing that makes me so mad about this. And I love James as a person, but he is burning down the bridge for the younger generation. You know, it's guys like Barkley, Magic, Michael Jordan, all these guys who paved the way for guys like James Harden to be making hundreds of millions of dollars. And right now, the way that James is acting, he's acting selfish, because for the simple fact, they have a younger generation that's coming up. And what's going to happen is the owners are going to go to the CBA when it's time to negotiate, and they're going to say, you know what, we got to discuss things like this. And you don't want to do that. You want to keep making it easier for the next generation of kids to be able to get paid hundreds of millions of dollars. So right now, I don't approve of anything that James is doing. And I saw his Instagram post. We're not trying to drag his name through the mud. He's creating these problems himself. We just have to address it.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I want to stress, the NBA in general, there's no morality thing here about its players going to strip clubs, because gosh, guys, that's been happening for quite a long time. It's right now in coronavirus. It's the same issue with, exactly, you've heard that once or twice, Vince. It's the same issue with Lou Williams. There was no morality judgment about, oh man, he was in a strip club. You cannot be in a place with lots of people right now. You just can't. It puts your teammates in jeopardy. It puts the rest of the league in jeopardy. It goes back to the selfishness that you're talking about. And that's often also really the issue here with the fact that he tested positive before. He's already been through all of this. I understand that for players who have tested positive, and I've heard this from other players around the league saying, well, I have antibodies now. Why do I have to be so limited in my personal life? Shouldn't that just apply to the people who haven't had it yet? It doesn't work like that. You have to think of the whole, not just of yourself. And that is what the NBA may be telling him in terms of a fine or a suspension later today. Yep.
And Rachel, I think these guys in general have to understand is that how disappointed will they be, or would they be, if all of a sudden Adam Silver and the NBA come out and say they have to cancel the rest of the season because of this situation, or so many guys have had, and now that everybody's in an uproar and you're going to start pointing fingers, and they did an unbelievable job in the bubble of not one issue with this. So now you're going to need everybody to buy in and show some discipline. And like you say, it's just not about just you, because it's the bigger picture. Because if they shut the NBA down again, everybody's going to be in an uproar. Yeah. So they got to think about that as well.
All right, guys, coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about the action on the basketball court last night. Nets Warriors. Which teams should we be thinking about more with the result of this game? First, though, it's time for our distant replay. This date, 2013.